talking about a real thing where you've got no desire to get anything out of that person. Okay, it's got to start there. When you're discipling someone, you can't have a desire for yourself to get something out of them. It's got to be for them. And this thing is not where you disciple people for your own benefit. All right, you got to do it for them and for the kingdom.
This is the Active Church. To God be the glory.
When you've given God 100% of your life, you will be fruitful. People that are fruitful in the kingdom of God have given it all to God. They're not perfect, but they've given everything to God. And then the key word becomes this, because now you start becoming fruitful. But in order to become fruitful, you're going to need some patience. Tell the person next to you, I need some patience. Tell the person next to you, you need some patience. When you start with this whole process, you tell him about Jesus, the seed's planted inside of them. The key word here is all by itself, the soil produces grain. So the seed gets planted into the soil. And tonight, the soil's name is Joe. So Joe is the person, okay? If you're a girl, it could be Jolene, but we're just going to say Joe. It's Joe or Jolene, depending if you're a chick. Because you know, really, this thing about guys discipling girls and girls discipling guys, there's some other seeds going on there, if you understand what I'm saying. It's not the seed of the Spirit, okay? Let's just be honest. You're sitting there discipling this chick and, yeah, check the word, eh? Let's just have a Bible study, eh? Let's just have a Bible study. All right, so we're talking about a real thing where you've got no desire to get anything out of that person. Okay, it's got to start there. When you're discipling someone, you can't have a desire for yourself to get something out of them. It's got to be for them. Tell the person next to you, it's got to be for them. So the soil is Joe. And once we've sown the seed, we need to leave Joe's stuff with Joe. The first thing I want you to realize is that when you tell someone about Jesus and you give them the seed, which is the word, Joe has to make the call on what he's going to do with the seed he's received from you. And if Joe rejects the seed, then let him know that you'll always be available for him, but move on to stand. And that can be difficult. Because very often you've poured into Joe, and if Joe rejects the seed, there's nothing you can do about it, because God's given each one of us the choice to accept him or to reject him. Well, I can tell you about him. I cannot accept him for you. So the fact of the matter is, you have to allow God to do his work, and you have to accept that some people are not going to take this. They're not going to take it. Not everyone you tell about Jesus is going to go, You know, at first when you really get to know Jesus, you think everyone's going to just go for it. You understand what I'm saying? Everyone's just going to be excited. And then you find out they're not. Some of you look like, some people will look at you like you're some sort of space cookie or something like that. But once you have provided the seed, it's the soil that produces the grain. If we try and handle Joe's stuff, we are trying to control Joe, not disciple him. And this thing is not where you disciple people for your own benefit. All right? You got to do it for them and for the kingdom. Now, when you are sowing your seed and all this kind of stuff, there's 4 phases in fruitfulness. Tell the person next to you 4 phases in fruitfulness. And if you never take notes, I'm going to ask you to take notes tonight. Because if you start doing this, you're going to find this, and you're going to find these frustrations, and everyone goes through the same frustrations, and you're going to find this. And you're going to see it, and you're going to understand this, and it's going to help you. Stage 1, you've planted the seed. And now, in stage 1, you get nothing but Joe. Mark 4:28, all by itself, the soil produces grain. All by itself. We're at the all by itself stage here. Right, we've planted the seed. And when you plant seeds, guess what? You've got to water them. So we're watering the seed. So you planted the seed, that's the evangelism. Now you're watering the seed, that's discipleship. So you've got this person, they've received Jesus, and you're looking after your new convert. Guess what? If you bring someone to church It's your job, if they receive Jesus, to keep them coming to church. You keep them in church. If you forget about them, you will cause damage. There are people who leave church just because of the fact that the people in the church forgot about them. And they weren't leading them, and they weren't looking after them and putting protection around them. But now, you've planted and you're watering. And you're looking after them and you're keeping them come to church. Now comes the problem. Because you begin to get impatient. Because you've planted your seed, but at this point, all you see is this. Looks very inspiring, doesn't it? That just makes you want to go out and just conquer the world. Because that's all you see. And you see nothing happening. And guess what happens at this stage? You forget how long it took you to grow. They must just get it now because you got it. But you forget about when you were an idiot. When you were doing stupid stuff. When you were being told, don't do it this way, and you were ignoring them. And so now you're tempted to get impatient. And when you get impatient, you can fight with Joe, offending him and chasing him away. Or you can say, you just won't learn. You're on your own, buddy. And you desert him. That's the temptation right now. Because you're freaking out. How come you're not learning? The stuff is so obvious. Well, it was also not so obvious to you once upon a time. Once upon a time, you also looked like that piece of dirt over there. And all you're sitting with is dirt, and you're putting in all of this energy, and you're putting in all of this mission, and all of this effort, and sometimes there's strife and all sorts of things, and you've got to sort out his problems, and he makes so many messes, and you've got to get him out of jail, and get him out of the brothel, and you've got to get him out of the pimp's house, and the other oak there wants his money because he hasn't paid for his drugs, and all of this sort of stuff's going on, and he's just messing up, and you're just continually solving problems for this guy, and it's just so pathetic, and all you see is dirt, and you just want to kill him. You just want to kill Joe. And then you can get to a point and say, hey, you know what, this discipling thing never works. But what's important at this point is that it feels like there's no result. But all by itself, with God's help, Joe is changing where man cannot see. He's changing on the inside of him. So at the beginning there, it's nothing but Joe. But then stage 2 comes. Tell the person next to you, thank God for stage 2. And stage 2, Joe produces nothing but the stalk. So Mark 4:28, first the stalk. So all by itself was the soil, now first the stalk. In stage 2, we have this amazing moment. We have the first instant or the first second where something changes. We spot the change. Yay! We spotted a change. But then we notice there's still a lot of dirt. There's a little green thing there, a tiny little green thing, and it's sticking out, and it's like all squiggly, and it doesn't look all so good, but there's something there. But that's all that's there. Still a lot of dirt. Still a lot of junk. Why did you go to that party last night and get drunk? Why? Because there's still a lot of dirt. And at first we think, yeah, now there must be fruit. And we start to think, you know what, they're at a new level and they're never going to let us down again. But then all we have is a stalk and they let us down. There's evidence that their lives are changing because they're no longer the same person, but they're still like little toddlers and they want to run across the road in front of pick-it-up trucks. They want to just run there and get themselves killed. And you still care for them very closely. I don't know if you've noticed, if you really watch people don't really think. They don't really think. They just regurgitate what they've heard other people say. They don't really think. I'm telling you, if people really thought, they would know that the gospel's the only message. Because you look at people, you look at yourself, you look at everyone, you know, whoa. People are all naturally good. You know that's rubbish. You know that's rubbish. You just have to look at yourself and guess what? Every other person around you is just like you. And so now these guys, they're toddlers, they're not at the point yet where they can really think. And so you still have to care for them. And it still feels like there's no fruit for your labor because all you've got is a stalk. Joe produces the head and the stalk. He produces the head and the stalk. Mark 4:28. Then the head. So First, all you got is the soil, then the stalk, then the head and the stalk. We still need to water them at this point. And they can now get to a position, however, where you can rely on them for small tasks. But now it looks something like this. You see there's actually some plants there. And as you watch them week by week, you can actually see that the plants are growing. You can see that something is happening. But now that something is happening, you start getting excited, and the temptation can be to give greater responsibility to them than what they're ready for. And at this point, we can also manipulate them to do what we want them to do rather than what God wants them to do. There's still a lot of work to do though, because they're not like us yet. They're not able to do what we're doing yet. But there's now a sign that the day is coming when they're going to be able to do what we're doing. And again, the temptation is to say, I've been walking with you for so long, and still you're not producing fruit, man. When are you going to produce fruit? But they're not ready yet. They're still too young. They're only little plants. And so therefore the temptation can be to be overbearing and just to crush them and just to smack them around and say, hey, come on, produce fruit. And you push too hard and you can offend them and chase them away. Or you yourself can say, listen, I've been dealing with you now for 6 months. 6 months. Should have had fruit by now. Cheers, I'm out of here. You produce some fruit, come find me up. Then I'll help you, but not without fruit. Not without fruit. But the issue is they're not ready yet. At this point, they're nearly ready. Just a little bit more patience. And a little bit more patience, you get to stage 4. By the way, this whole process has got to be shouted with love. They've got to know, listen, I care more about you. I care more about your success than my own. I really want you to make it. I really want you to advance. I really want you to go forward in life. I want you to go so far forward that one day you're going to get further than what I am now. When you get to my age, you'll be doing stuff I'm only dreaming of. Stage 4. Job produces abundant fruit. Mark 4:28. Then the full kernel in the head. So first there was just the ground. Then there was a stalk. Then there was the stalk and the head, but still no fruit. And now there's fruit. Guess what starts happening? All of a sudden you see this person. They're standing in there counseling someone. And they start giving the advice you would, because it's the advice that comes out of the Bible. All of a sudden they're talking about stuff about relationships and how to handle relationships, and you think, where in the world did you get that from? That's what I would have said. At first you're shocked. And so this is the day where Joe's producing fruit, and now, hey, doesn't that look good? Come on, let's give the Lord a big round of applause. Doesn't that look good there? By the time that happens, guess what happens? You've reproduced yourself. You've reproduced yourself. This doesn't happen in 5 minutes. You're not going to reproduce yourself in 5 minutes. This takes years. But now you get to a position where, yeah, you are, and you end up with 12 Joes around you. 12 Joes, eh? That's cool. Sounds cool, eh? 12 Joes. And then Joe now starts producing leaders, and you take him through the same process, and you're saying, have patience, Joe. No, Joe, you need to relax a little bit. Joe, let off a little bit there. No, Joe, just leave that issue. It doesn't matter right now. Just get them on Jesus. No, Joe, don't punch. Don't punch. Joe, don't punch. Joe, let me just handle him. Joe, you just go sit down. You can sit with him again tomorrow. And eventually Joe gets to where you are. And then Joe starts producing jacks below him. So now there's you with your 12 Joes, and each of your 12 Joes has got 12 jacks. And that makes 144 leaders. And if you have 144 leaders that are sold out for God, and all of them are reaching people for the kingdom of God, you're affecting South Africa already. You're making a difference already. That can take 5 to 15 years, sure. But I want to tell you, as you're sitting here tonight, and most of you are very young, therefore you got plenty of time to make a difference. In 5 to 15 years, you could really be making a serious difference in Joburg. And if you're making a difference in Joburg, this city is so important to South Africa, you'll be making a difference in the whole of South Africa.
Take your step.